What is going on, guys? It is Wednesday afternoon. I got some work to do to the car. I am decided that I'm going to be racing in Bradenton next weekend, a 1050 index class, so I should be able to dial the car back and have a good time. So I have a list of things that needs to be addressed after this past week. You know, we made 25 hits on the dyno, made 3 passes at the track, and we found a few things that were flawed, but nonetheless, nothing that we can't fix. So I have a couple things on this I've written down. Got to fix the starter wire. The wire that goes, I have a wire, it goes from a switch panel into the shifter. The shifter, it only allows the starter signal to go through if the shifter's in park or neutral. That way it's a neutral safety switch. And then I have the wire that goes straight to the starter solenoid. Well, the starter, I think that wire is too small. So what I'm gonna do is this weekend, we are going to take that wire, go into a relay, and then we're going to use a relay to send a stronger 12-volt signal to the starter. So that's that. The second one's head gaskets. I'll explain that in a minute. The back pressure line, that's a funny one. So I have it removed off the car now, but there's a line that goes from there and that goes to the hot side of the turbo. My dumbass made the line out of the copper nickel brake line I use, but I used an aluminum fitting. Not even thinking about it, I did it. So on the dyno, I noticed it was like a little wiggly. We go to the track, the first pass, after the first pass, it was a little wiggly. After the second pass, the nut was gone. So like if you make I explained before how to make a brake line, but you have to have a flare sleeve. I'll show you. You have to have a flare sleeve and then a nut. So like here, right here, this is what's called your tube sleeve. And then this is what's called your tube nut. So basically you have to have the nut around the sleeve, and you can see how it comes through the back there. So basically whenever this is tightened, you know, the sleeve makes connection with your fitting. Well, the nut was gone, like completely gone. It had melted, but the sleeve was still there. And it was the most mind-boggling thing. I thought it was hilarious, but so no worries. I'm gonna remake that same line. Apparently the copper nickel brake line didn't have any failure, so I'm just gonna remake that same line, just changing the fitting to a steel fitting. So that should alleviate that. I have marked on here trans-temp sensor. Well, come to find out, the homie Garrett at Fuel Tech told me that I just had the wrong calibration settings. So I adjusted that last night. I crossed it off my list. Last but not least, drive shaft sensor. So I did put a wheel speed sensor in the front right wheel, and then I also have a drive shaft collar in the back of the car. Well, the ring is magnetic, and at the higher RPMs or the higher frequency that it's spinning, it's actually getting a signal loss. So I need a different style trigger ring. I did order it. It should be here maybe this weekend. So I'm going to show you a couple data logs now from the couple passes to explain why we need to dig further into more things this weekend. Alrighty, so I got the Fuel Tech manager pulled up with the data logs from the 3 passes. So I'm gonna explain this. I know not everyone wants to build a race car, but I cannot stress how comforting it is to have all the data in the world to actually look back and review everything. So I'm gonna show you 2 different parameters. So this is a data log I'm looking at right now. Ooh, I gotta get you out of the, hold on one sec. Let's get you out of that glare. Let's try over here. All right. Oh yeah, there's a lot less glare. Okay. So the green line here, squiggly guy up here top, that's RPM, just as a reference for me. I have this little purple blue line right here. That is going to be engine coolant pressure. So you can see there, squiggly guy. And then this bottom one is my drive shaft sensor. So we already can see right here during the pass, you know, you can see where it comes off the two-step. This is first gear. Second gear, it spins, it catches on the converter, and then it rides out second gear back out the back. So if we scroll through here, we're gonna look at a peak, it looks like a peak coolant pressure of about 19.5 pounds, which is pretty high. So you can see during the run it increases. Now, if we actually pull up engine temperature, you can see the engine temperature stays the same. So to me, that's telling me that something is forcing air into the cooling system. So that's bad. Now, if you look at this bottom squiggly, that's my drive shaft sensor. You can see here, it actually doesn't work. It goes here, it flatlines. I'm going to turn off that wheel speed, and I'm going to turn on the front wheel speed. Now on the front wheel speed, you can see how it just increases. So that's how it's supposed to be. Second pass. Second pass, you got squiggly boys for the two-step. First gear, second gear out the back. Coolant pressure. Coolant pressure rises to about 21 pounds that pass. 22 23 at the very end. Okay, so a little bit more than last pass. And you can see it increases, and then it'll actually decrease after the pass. So it is boost related. Then you got at the bottom again, here you got the wheel speed traction. You can see that it actually rose here, it rose here. When the car actually made a good pass, the drive shaft sensor is all over the place. So again, I'm going to remove the rear traction and I'll replace it with front traction. And you see how it's nice, steady line going up. So that tells me there's a false reading. This is the last pass of the day. Coolant pressure peaks out around 29 pounds of coolant pressure up at the top. And then as far as wheel speed, you can see here, again, it cuts out at before the 60 foot. And then at the very top end of the track, it just reads whatever. So let me go back down again. Let's replace that drive shaft with front wheel. And you can see the front wheel increases very nicely going down track. So I'm now learning the hard way. So the coolant getting into, the pressure going into the coolant, I am 100% certain that's a head gasket. I kind of saw this coming. Brief explanation is I cheaped out on head studs. You see all these internet builds where, oh, this guy makes 1,000 horsepower on this, a guy makes 1,000 horsepower on that. Well, realistically, this car made 900 horsepower to the engine, and the Chinese head studs, they said goodbye. I know I have a different variable than others just because I do have significantly higher back pressure than others because of the small turbo. So that probably expedited the fact that I was gonna lift ahead eventually. So what I did is I went to the dealer, I got a pair of brand new 5.3 head gaskets, they're multi-layer steel, and I have a set of good ARP head studs on the way. So the plan now, we gotta take the heads off. Thursday, which is tomorrow, we are gonna get them surfaced at CW Pence, and then she'll be back together, hopefully this weekend. So that is, yeah. So like I said, the good data is good to have. Now, not everyone needs a coolant pressure sensor, but I have a stock internal LS with boost. So I kind of know if I have excessive coolant pressure, I know the head's gonna lift. I'd rather data log it and set a safety alert before any major failures. Because in the fuel tech, I can actually make it so if coolant pressure reaches, let's say 25 PSI, it'll actually cut power to the engine to prevent it from, you know, lifting ahead more or even pushing the gasket to where I can get hurt because the water will get on the tires as I crash the car. So that's why I do it. I mean, the sensors aren't all that expensive, but you do have to have the computer that can read and interpolate all the sensors. As far as the drive shaft sensor, the only thing I have to change is the collar. The one I have on it now, it's a 4 magnet, and I have to buy a collar that has like high and low spots. So I did order that from Motion Raceworks. It will be, I think it ships out today. So I'll have it before next weekend for sure. So I will explain that when I get that. So in the meantime, I'm leaving that not checked off because I still haven't physically received it, but trans stem's been fixed. So this is my list I got to quickly start working on. And then one other thing that I'm super happy about is I finally got my damn bracket in for my switch panel, my ARC one. If you watch the video of me going down the track, you can see me fumbling with this thing, trying to shut it off. So it's actually a bracket that I can zip tie to the cage. So that makes my life so much easier. So anyway, I'm gonna get to start working as much as I can before I gotta go to work. I'm gonna start trying to pull these heads off. Alrighty, so finally got both the heads off. As you can see here, the gaskets are off. I checked the gaskets and I'm checking the surfaces, and I'm not really seeing anything that's like out of the ordinary. You know, you would usually be able to see some sort of where compression's going in, but you can see there's a very definitive ring around all of the cylinders. So I'm thinking what could have happened is, actually no, maybe that could be right there. That kind of looks a little less definitive. But yeah, so the other thing that could happen, because these are multi-layered gaskets, the compression could actually go between the layers of the gasket and get into the coolant. So either way, nothing looks really bad, and it's cool because these, I mean, everything in here looks beautiful still. I don't see any issues. No weird marks, no scoring. So that is definitely good news. So I'm taking these to CW Pets tomorrow. I'm going to have them surfaced. My head studs arrived from Summit. And then as you can see here, I already have my new factory 5.3 gaskets. So all will be good. So this will be back together hopefully tomorrow night or the night after. So I just had a very, very fun couple hours. I struggled real hard at pulling the head gasket off with the studs. So I took an Allen wrench, and I was starting to try to pull the stud. So I took the Allen and I twisted as hard as I could to get the Allen to come loose. And I straight up sliced the ever-living crap out of my finger with the edge of the head gasket to where I just went to the hospital and got 3 stitches. So that's how my day's going. So the heads are off. I just have to wait for tomorrow to go to CW Pence. So the only thing, or one of the things I could do today is I could do the back pressure line. And then to do the starter wire properly, I do want to kind of pull the dash again. So that might not be a thing I'm doing today, but I'm gonna probably take a little bit off from tonight because, yeah, it's been a fun day. I don't know why, but I keep getting hurt lately and it's annoying as hell. But yeah, so we should be good to go to put the cylinder heads back on either tomorrow night or Saturday, or I'm sorry, Friday. And then that list should be pretty much finished up this week. The package for Motion Raceworks shipped today for the drive shaft sensor collar. So maybe that'll be here Saturday. If not, it'll be here early next week. So that's pretty ideal as far as my timeline's concerned. So basically what it seems is the beginning of next week, everything will be back together, buttoned up, and race ready. So that's ideal. So I will yeah, keep looking at the turtle. It looks kind of weird, but it is kind of funny. I left all the stuff up here connected and just took this stuff off. Makes it a lot easier for me. But anyhow, that's gonna be it for me for now. Unfortunately, I got some carnage, but hey, it's racing and we gotta fix it. And there's a lesson to be learned here. There's 2 lessons. Don't cheap out on head studs. The second lesson, be careful working around sharp edges. So that's it from me, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for showing support and love. And I will catch you in the next one. Peace.